than one like this that does not have. It's just easier to lay your McCarty down in, but the function is going to be the same. That's the only difference. This is probably the final phrase, is using this one that's got a little bit of life to it, and it's a 1/2 inch. Before I go to the 2-rein setup, this one here I'll go through real quick, is one that I like having at the barn, and I don't use it a lot, and it's not for hands that are abusive. It's a flat bar bosal. It's a rawhide core in strips and sewn together. If the horse gets really heavy on my hands, then I'll go to this one for a few days, get him off my hands, and go back to another bosal that I need. It's got a lot of authority, especially going straight back, but pretty soft going laterally. So it works really good to get them off your hand. But if you're using one like this to be more mean or with them, then they're not to be used in that manner. They're designed to be used in the right hands. Going to the Bosalitas, I start mine in a 3/8. This is a center hung braided kangaroo that Bill Black made. He also made the Bosalita. It's got a lot of firmness to it. Got a lot of feel to it. That's where I start with when I go to the 2-rein, is a 3/8. The reason I like the center hung is because of the drop off. Here's the drop off here in the center. It drops off real quick, immediately. Whereas one with a hanger, this is one with a hanger, the drop off is not as fast. It's a little bit slower drop off because they're so small and light that by having them hung in the center will quicken them up to drop off quicker. I mostly use 99% of the time use a center hung. There's different ways to hang them. This one again is a center hung, and it goes over the ears in this fashion, and you adjust it in the center there. So it just slips over the ears. This one here is a Bosalita. Again, this is a flat bar, only in a Bosalita size. And it is Bill Black made this one. This is to tie to the forelock. So you make your wraps up here, there, to the forelock, and then you do your hooey, and it holds it up from the forelock. Again, if one's in the 2-rein, he's getting a little heavy in my hands, I'll go to this flat bar for a few days, get him up off my hands. It's more rigid this way, but pretty soft again this way. So it works really good in the right hands to get him off your hands. This here is a 1/4 inch under bridle. I don't use it for a 2-rein. Under bridle means it's just used for a get down. You can tie your get down rope on the down by the heel knot here in the same fashion as you would the McCarty to the Bosals. And it's just used to get on and off the horse. It's not designed to tie a horse up with. The only thing that's designed to tie a horse up with is a halter. You don't ever tie a horse up with your get down or your McCarty reins in any fashion. If you got to get off, you hobble them. This is the only time I use a 1/4 inch. It's for an under bridle. This in here is made by Steve Harris. It's leather with kangaroo knots. It's a very nice get down. This one here is made by San Benito. It's kangaroo with rawhide knots, and it's also a center hung tied to the forelock. This is a 5/16, so from a 3/8 I'll go to a 5/16, and then ride with it, and then go on to this. It's got a little bit of stiffness to it, and I may go to a little bit softer one before I completely go straight up. This is just another one that Steve Harris made, a 3/8. It's a center hung also, ties to the forelock. It's got a lot of authority to it. It's pretty stiff. I really like it. It's got a lot of feel to it, and it's a really, really nice Bosalita. This one here is one that Blackie's made. This again hung up. It's a 1/4 inch, so it's used for a get down or an under bridle. This one here is a 5/16 center hung. Again, it's just a leather strap that goes around the ears rather than ties to the forelock. So different stiffnesses, different sizes. You go from large to small, large stiff to large small to small stiff to small soft is how I go about that. Now, as you can see how these are all hung here, they're all hung in by the heel knot. The reason being that it can lay flat. This is a natural material. If you bend it in any form, then it's going to have a way of just staying in that shape. So if I hang it by the hanger and you're in the barn, it because of the weight of it is going to go like this over time. So you'll get it out the next time you use it and it's bent like this. It's not the way you want it. You want it straight. You want it straight so it makes the right contact on the horse at the right time. So that's why when I'm on the road I hang it this way. And when I'm at home I have half round. In the barn I hang it in this fashion. It's half round so it hangs nice that way, but as long as it hung one way or the other and not by the hanger. I've had some of these over 60 years and they're still usable. If you take care of them, they'll last a long time. These, like say, are the Bosals, are 10.5 long, 7 to 7.5. The Bosalitas, and a Bosalita refers to one that is a 1/2 inch smaller, a 1/2 inch above is a Bosal. Under a 1/2 inch is called a Bosalita. Or if you're in the Iowan country, they call it a Bosalito. Either way is fine. Different regions are going to call it a little bit different name. I'm not going to get into what names they should or shouldn't be called. It depends on what region you're from. Where I was raised, it was called a Bosalita, but I think either way is fine. These are 10 inches. This is a 7-inch nose button with 10 inches inside diameter on my Bosalitas. This is one that's used with a Theodore. I don't use them anymore. I used to use them, but I didn't like the way they dropped off. It inhibited the drop-off in this fashion, restricted it in the drop-off. But if you have one that is 12 inches long, then you probably should use a Theodore with it, because it will stabilize it. If you get one that's 12 inches long and you got all the wraps on it, and it's 12 inches long, all the wraps are here, you've unbalanced it. So therefore it moves around in this fashion on the horse. So you desensitize their nose, the bridge of their nose, and you desensitize the jaws in this area here, because it's moving. It's no different than we desensitize any part of the horse's body. If it moves, we desensitize them to it. So if you got one that's 12 inches, you need to use a Theodore with it until you can get a shorter one, because they'll move around in this fashion and move to where it desensitizes across the nose and in the jaw area. The Theodore is used so it doesn't pull off the horse's nose. When you take a hold and lead them, this goes around the pole, around the throat latch, and then you got your get down here to where it pulls on the pole rather than off down here without going around. Whereas this fashion here, if you have it and your Macote's tied on, if you lead a horse, it'll pull off the chin. There's a way that I can tie these to where they don't if I'm leading a horse, which is what I do. The only reason I don't like using a Theodore is that it stabilizes the heel knot. So if one, that's why it works better on long ones, to stabilize it. It doesn't have the drop off that another one